Konnichiwa.
Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast.
Kia ora, Catherine.
Konnichiwa, Jane.
I am nearly back to full health. My daughter said I sound like Roy Kent from Ted Lasso.
That's a compliment,
Yeah, I've improved a lot since she told me I sound like Roy Kent. But yeah, we've not been very well here, and it's going all around Japan at the moment. Lots of people around you catching this bug.
Yeah, there's quite a few people who are, as they call down station like that, right? Down, who have collapsed as a result of this. What is it called? Did you say microplasma?
I think it's called mycoplasma.
Oh, mycoplasma. Thank you.
Pneumonia. Mycoplasma pneumonia. So it's like walking pneumonia, they call it. It's a sort of a lighter version that most people don't end up in hospital with it, let's just say. But yeah, lots of coughing going on. Everybody's coughing. And it goes on and on and on for at least 2 weeks, and then seems to get better. So, yeah, that's why I've been a little bit wobbly recently. And watch out for it if you come to Japan, or if you're in Japan, this is what's going around at the moment.
What can we do to help prevent it? Do we just need to stay calm?
It's very spready. It's a very
spready,
spready one. So it's, one of those
Masks?
droplet type ones. You might want to wear a mask if you want to stay well, if that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, when you think of how many places you are, well, at least especially in Tokyo, when you go to events or gatherings, there are a lot of people in the same room together. And, it's very easy, I suppose, if you are coming here and going to be in meetings, that it's a possible thing that could happen. So keep up some of that stuff that we learned a little while ago.
Yeah,
The masks and the sanitizers and things like that, and just be really careful. Gargling's a great one. I love the old gargle because I think that gets rid of lots of stuff that just collates in your throat and can make you very susceptible. Well, it does for me. If I get a cold, it usually comes from my throat.
Yeah, that's something my dad always used to tell me too. So who have we got on the show today, Catherine?
Today we have Jay Wilson. Jay is a junior world motocross champion. He actually became a motocross champion when he was 14 in New Zealand. He won. We just love talking with him. He's now with the Yamaha team in Japan. I want to thank especially Jim, or also known as Hajime Aota-san, for your introduction of Jay, to have him come on the show. Obviously, he's doing test riding, he's doing development, he's doing pro racing for the Yamaha team here. And it was a little bit interesting for us to interview him, someone very different, a different sport, but gave us a brilliant perspective. I think you'll hear that, not only about what he's doing in his work, but aspects of his family and his family's induction into Japan and how they've gone. It's a really great episode. Hope you love it.
Now let's hear it from Jay. Kia ora, Jay. Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks, guys. And thanks for having me on. It's been a long time in the making, and I'm
here we are.
To finally be on here with you guys and have a chat.
All right. We like to start up with a warm-up question. So
okay.
The warm-up question for you is, tell us something that's really cool about Shizuoka that we should know about. Not Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're not allowed to have that one.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you can see Mount Fuji from Shizuoka, right?
I think it has a lot of wonderful things, but I think one of the best parts about it is corn season. It's got the best corn you could ever get. It's so sweet and juicy. There's lineups for you guys understand the Japanese lineups.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will line up in the heat for 4 or 5 hours just to get a bag of corn. And I can tell you right now, it's worth it.
Corn.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so it's just down the road from my house here, and I think it's more of a Fukuroi thing, maybe.
The Fukuroi specialty, right?
Yeah,
that
but
people
obviously
come for the Fukuroi corn.
Yes, and I mean, green tea is very popular in this area, so
I thought you were going to say green tea.
My wife, she's all about the matcha and green tea, so she loves it. I think she's very happy in this area for that.
Wow.
I don't know anything about Shizuoka other than green tea and Mount Fuji, so I'll add corn to that one. And we always blow through there on the bullet train going somewhere else. So we don't normally stop in Shizuoka, do we, Catherine? Have you ever been there?
Although there's some good sports stadiums there too, right? So you can play
Yes.
get a bit of rugby there as well. So
Yep.
I have been to a stadium in Shizuoka, so that's cool. That's one thing I know.
Oh,
Woo, woohoo!
Yeah, so I'm a supporter of the Yamaha Revs, the Blue
Of
Revs
course.
rugby team here in
Yay.
Iwata, and the Jubilo soccer team. So
There
yeah, I
go the
support those
Revs.
guys, and we've definitely got a good bunch of Gaijins, foreigners in this area. So
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Jay Wilson, for coming on the show. We know that you've hopped off your bike and
yeah,
pulled up the mic for today. I know you're really, really, really busy heading into the All Japan Championships. But we really wanted to welcome you because we heard a lot about you through Yamaha. One of
Mhm.
the contacts that we have there, one of your bosses, I think, who
Yep.
I met recently said, "You've got to have Jay on the show. He's so awesome." And you did ride in the Junior World Motocross Championships in New Zealand way back when you were 14 and you won. And
Yes.
that just put you on the map for motocross and for supercross. So that's just awesome. We're so glad to have you here. We know you came to Japan and, in fact, did join Yamaha, which
Yep.
is why you support those teams. And, you came in 2022. So we just wanted to hear all about you because we're very proud that you are an amazing sportsman in Japan. We want to hear your story.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me on, and yeah, I'm excited to share some, I guess, information and some of my knowledge here in Japan. And it's 3 years now of us living here with my family here in Japan, and it's been an exciting time. A lot of highs and lows, as many people would expect, but it's been very exciting, and I
Mm.
wouldn't change it for the world. So
Oh, that's so
it's been
good.
fun.
Yeah, but 14, heading over to Kiwiland and doing
Yeah.
this winning.
My parents decided to move to the Gold Coast when I was 13. And at that time, we were just going racing as a family. My parents were funding everything at that time. And then I got support from a manufacturer in Australia at that time and r raced for the factory junior development team. And a part of that, when we moved to the Gold Coast, I guess that opportunity come alive because we were more central to a lot of things and there was
Mm.
more opportunities for me to go racing. And a part of that obligation was that I had to go to New Zealand to race. And at that time, we weren't going. So we went to New Zealand because of that obligation, and it was a great decision.
Look what
So,
happened. I've actually got shivers right now when you said that story because I'm
mhm.
like, there you go. There's your family putting
Yeah.
themselves behind you to get you there. And look what happened,
Yeah,
right?
so and I went in as an underdog. I wasn't expected to win. I was always a second, third place guy. I was not the winning guy all the time. We went there and I qualified second in New Zealand and it was raining, it was cold, it smelt. We were in Taupo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Smells a bit funny there with the
so
sulfur from the
All the
on.
yeah,
challenges.
Yeah.
yeah, but the key thing was I had my family there and we were just going racing. We were staying in a motorhome. That's what we did. We went racing for the weekend and I had no expectations. If I finished top 10, we were happy. And qualified second to the French guy and yeah, won the first moto. Second moto, had a bad start, come through the field, got to first, crashed on the second last lap, finished third, but that was enough to give me the world championship. And I went on to become Australia's first ever motocross world champion at 14 years old. And from there, I guess it's sort of, yeah, what's next, I guess.
I have to ask, obviously you're 14 at this time, but what happened between the kid who was like, second or third, and then the kid who's now I'm just winning everything? And what happened?
I honestly don't know. And at that time, I don't think we really knew what to do with it either, because it was a bit of a shock and a surprise to a lot of us, I think. Going back, there's probably different pathways. Winning a world championship, what you would do after winning a world championship, you'd put yourself in the position to go to Europe or go to America straight away from there. But we just went back to normal life in Australia because we didn't know what to do, like I won the world championship and then
Yeah,
we're like,
yeah.
okay, well, I've got to go back to school on Monday. So
Life goes on.
yeah, so
Oh.
yeah, a lot of things changed and the pressure, obviously the expectation was a lot higher. And I think I found that transition a little bit difficult, especially at that age, because I went from a kid that grew up in a country town, not a lot of people watching me, and we just did it for fun. And then I won the world championship and all eyes were on me. And it was like, who's this kid that's
Mm.
just won the world championship? And I probably felt like I I had to learn at a very young age to deal with that pressure and the expectation of everybody watching me and expecting me to win from there on out. So I think the next couple of years, yes, I had good results, but I dealt with a lot of pressure and not pressure from outside people, but it was just more self pressure because I wanted to do well. I didn't want to let people down, sponsors down, and also my family who have invested a lot of money and time into it, you know. And I guess that then started the process. Well, not even the process, but like the pathway of, oh, this could be a job. So then yeah, we went on from there and we went racing and then I turned pro in 2011. So yeah.
And pro's not that long after, right? In
No.
2009 when you won. So yeah, there's a lot of maturity going on there and some real hard work on yourself to get yourself to that point of turning pro. And look where you are now.
Yeah, I've definitely learnt a lot during that time. I've had to mature very early, and I guess I got my school certificate. Like I passed grade 10 and then that was it. I went full-time racing. But during that time, there was a lot of highs and lows. Me trying to mature as now an adult in the workforce. How do I survive day to day financially as well? Because the first couple of years of a professional, you're definitely not making money. There's some people that do, but Australia and
Mm.
New Zealand, we're a smaller country and there's not a lot of budget and funding for those types of things at times as well, especially when you're starting out. So you learn to suffer and you learn to never give up. And I think that was as a kid, I always had that mentality. You know, I was always second, third place guy. I was not always the best at every sport, but I would always give it my everything, and I would make sure I worked my butt off to make sure I was one of the best. So, yeah, I think that attitude led me to where I am today. Yeah, it's been a successful career, I would say, and a rewarding career, but something I wouldn't change at all, especially showing my daughter now, who's 7, that never give up attitude and just keep fighting. You know, I think that's what Australian and New Zealand guys and girls have that mentality, you know, because there's opportunities there, but they're not like America or Europe. You've got to really work hard and prove yourself. So.
So I think that must have contributed to the fact that you're now here in Japan racing. So tell us a bit about how you came to be here in Japan.
Yeah, so 2020, I was in America at the start of the year racing supercross. And you know, I'd just come off winning the Australian Supercross Championship. I had some money behind me from winning the championship, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to invest back in myself. And I sent my mechanic. I sent my family over to America for 2.5 months, and we did some training and based ourselves out of America to do some Supercross. And then the world went into shutdown during COVID.
Right.
And at that point, I think I must have been around 27, maybe 26. And then, you know, I was in a point in my career where like I don't really know if I can sustain this taking like looking after a family and racing professionally. I was running a coaching business for Yamaha at the time as well. So I was doing a lot of things, but price of living was expensive and honestly, like my dream was always to win another world championship. I just felt like I had more to offer than just racing in Australia. And when COVID hit, we didn't know what was going to happen, how long that was going to go on for. And I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take a risk. I want to win world championships again, and I don't know if I can be in the position to do that now. I don't know if a team is going to take 2 to 3 years of risk of development and sacrifice and investment into me getting to the level that I need to be moving to Europe or America to do that. And I thought, I'm going to send an Instagram message. And I sent a message to a guy here in Yamaha that I knew.
What?
And one thing
Message,
led
not
to
even an
another.
email.
No,
Just a
and
DM.
Instagram.
You slid
yeah,
into his DMs, yes?
yeah, and I didn't want to do it. I felt I can't do this. I can't do this. But you know what? My wife is like, well, what do you have to lose? What else are we doing in Australia right now? We're in COVID. What else is going to happen? And this was at the very start of COVID. He ended up responding 2 weeks later, and he said, "Hey, I've chatted to somebody here. I'm going to put you in contact with the other management, and they've got your email, they'll contact you if they've got an idea. So I waited for 6 months, nothing come through, and then one day I was like, I'm just going to send another message. What have I got to lose? I'd send another message, and he's like, they're going to email you tomorrow. They've got a project coming up and something they might be interested in. And obviously during COVID, we didn't know when things were going to end or change. So it was like, yeah, I think it was like 2 years of just continuous. Every couple of months, we would just go back and forwards on communication through email. How can we make this work? What projects look like that are coming up? And one thing led to another at the end of 2021. Borders restrictions started easing up, I guess. And I was living in New Zealand at the time, and then Australia's went back into lockdown.
Australia
So
was one of the hardest, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
So
yeah.
at that time, I was based in New Zealand, living near the Mount, and I flew back to Australia for a race. New South Wales went into lockdown, and I couldn't get back out of Australia.
Oh.
My wife, Misty, and my daughter, Poppy, were still in New Zealand, so they had to
Oh.
fly back on their own and bring everything back. And then we went on talking to Yamaha at that time, and Yamaha was like, we're going to try do everything. They were talking to Toyota, trying to work out how they could manage the Japanese embassy to give me approval to come into Japan. Toyota at the time, I think, was doing that with some of their test drivers and race drivers, and Yamaha were able to get support from them, work out the same process. They got me over for a race. Yeah, I spent what was it? I spent 2 weeks in a business hotel in Sendai eating gyutang and rice. And I was in sort of like this little bubble. Yamaha set up this personal gym for me, and at Sendai Sugo, like Yamaha's facility, I could run around. I had a carer with me that would drive me to and from there, but me and him were connected at the hip for 14 days, and I was testing every 3 days during that time out of a business
Oh
hotel.
my goodness.
I ended up doing the race in the end of 2021 for a new project with electronic power steering, which is a big project that I was involved with here in Yamaha in Japan. And that was sort of, I had success. I won the two motos, I won the race, I had a successful test, flew back to Australia. It all went well. They said, we want you to come back. Japanese business at times, and this is what I think a lot of people need to understand, is that you have to be very patient. They have a process that they go through, and I had to learn that. It was, I think, another 5 months of discussions or something, waiting for contracts, waiting for budgets, and then the day of Christmas, Boxing Day, it was. I received a email. Can you please sign the contract today? We need it approved today. And
Today.
yeah, we need you to come out
Yeah.
here as soon as possible. And then, yeah, one thing
Wow.
led to another. I come out here. So that was a bit of a long story. I apologize. But yeah, it's
Fabulous story.
No, thank you
yeah.
for sharing the details of it because that's the reality of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is how it looks in the end. Yeah.
yeah, and that's, I guess, where, yeah, I got off track a little bit, I guess, but that's why I ended up here in Japan is I wanted to win world championships again, and I want to be involved in, if I can't win them personally, I want to develop motorcycles and be a part of winning those world championships and having success. But not only that is, I was a coach in Australia. I'm passionate about development as well. If I can create a safer motorcycle through development, if I can create a safer rider, then I'm doing my part in making a safer community and a safer sport. So that's something I'm very passionate about, and I enjoy helping the next generation of riders coming through as well. So there's a lot of sort of roles that I play, I guess, here in Japan with my job. I'm not just a racer, which I once was, but I definitely enjoy this. I'm doing a lot of management of riders, teams. We're running a JW Innovation Racing team here in Japan now, which is involves the younger generation of Japanese riders and trying to develop the Japanese riders to go international, but also the development side of things. I think the level of Japanese motocross has dropped a little bit over the years, and my job is to try and increase it again because working for a Japanese company, you want to have Japanese employees. Japanese companies want to make sure that they're looking after their own as well, and I respect that. And I want to make sure that these guys here that have raced and have experience can develop the motorcycles as well. And if the level drops too low, I worry that they're going to outsource that job away from Japan. And if we can develop the Japanese riders to do that, it makes it more beneficial for the manufacturers as well, because they can do it in their home where they've got the resources, engineers, machinery, and things like that to be able to develop the machinery before it's shipped out to other countries, or so they don't lose the jobs here. So
So
yeah,
insightful what you're saying. I
Yes,
mean,
yes, we're all just,
so I'm just
yeah,
like, yeah,
listening
when
in rapt attention
probably
here.
everyone's
Yeah.
wondering, where are Catherine and Jane on this show today?
sorry. So yeah,
No, no,
I
no,
am a
don't be
bit
No,
of
sorry.
not at
That
all.
is
a
fabulous.
chatterbox, and when I'm
No,
Catherine
talking,
loves
it's
it. I can
fine.
see Catherine, you are wigging
I've
out
got
there and yes.
no, I love your story, and it's giving me quite a lot of chills because I
Yes,
love
me
how you're
too.
talking so proudly and
Mhm.
honestly about Japanese companies. They can get a bit of a rub for being Japanese,
Yep,
but that's who they are. And I
exactly.
thank you for saying that patience and going through the process. And if you get it all right at the front end, like you did over those 5 months and more before that,
Yeah.
you will come out shining like you are right at the other end, right? And it's all smooth. How is it with your colleagues? Tell us what it's like working with your colleagues and what you've learnt from them.
Yeah, life in Japan for me is definitely a lot easier than for my wife and daughter. I want to make that very clear to the listeners as well. Like I'm very fortunate to have an amazing wife and an amazing daughter that's been very flexible throughout this whole process, and willing to take chances, and even when things are hard, to keep on going. I think they've got that a stronger mentality than probably me at times. They never give up, and my wife definitely pushes me at times to not give up when I definitely doubt myself. So, firstly, I want to thank them, because without them, this thing wouldn't be possible. So yeah, working with the colleagues and the Japanese side is, for me, it's my passion. It's what I love to do. So it's easy in a sense for me. I'm speaking English a lot of the time because the translation for me is I need to be clear on my communication with development and what the motorcycle and what parts are doing, and the feeling that I have. So, and I'm very fortunate that a lot of the engineers and past riders have had experience globally, and they do speak English. It's got its challenges at times when you are dealing with somebody who's not fluent in English. My Japanese is not great, I can tell you that right now. But my daughter is fluent in Japanese, so I think at some point she'll probably have to become my translator or something like that.
Yeah. I heard Poppy on your Facebook
Yeah,
page.
yeah.
She's awesome. Go, 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 Poppy. And Misty, I
Yeah.
haven't heard Misty, but I'm so glad. It's like you mentioned before, I've had my family there, is what you
Mm,
said. I wrote it down.
yeah.
And that was before, back in, when you were winning. And now you've got your family here again. So family is very important to support you while you're in Japan.
I'm not exactly sure on other sports, exactly on how the process works, but if you look at any of the successful riders that have come from Australia and New Zealand, a lot of the time they have a family, or like a team that is their core team. No matter where they go in the world, that core team stays together, whether that's their girlfriend or their father or their mother, or one of their best friends or something like that, or a manager. They always keep a core team around them. And I think it's important for people to understand is that no matter where you go, you've got to try to keep a core team within a team. And I ride for Yamaha Factory Innovation Team. I've rode for teams in America. I've rode all over the world. But one thing doesn't change, my core team. And even if I'm on the other side of the world, the first person I'm communicating with is my wife. She's a part of that team, and she's my touch point. So that's who I go back to if I'm having something that I need to discuss. First person I'm talking to is my wife, and she's the biggest supporter in my program. So that's something I would highly suggest when people are making the transition overseas. Athletes, business people, I guess, as well, is that core team is important, for anybody. Just somebody that you can trust, and when you are having those hard days, and whether it's just in general having a hard day, you have somebody that you can touch base with and make it feel like home. So yeah.
that's really great that you say that, and it sounds like you have an amazing family and a wonderful wife. We have to meet Misty sometime. She
Yeah,
sounds
for sure.
fantastic. So, how about Misty? How does she keep herself happy? Can I ask? Because we hear a lot about, obviously rugby players and different sports people coming to Japan,
Yeah.
and often their families are the ones who are really struggling in the
Yeah.
background, right? Do you have any
Yeah.
words of wisdom
I
potentially you've heard from her or something?
This is one of the biggest concerns for me when we're making the transition. And it's hard. I wish I was more understanding. I wish I could put myself in her shoes more to understand it and try support her through it. But she's a yoga and Pilates teacher from Australia, and she had a good job that she was doing in Australia. The transition was hard because obviously you guys understand visas are challenging moving overseas. I'm the provider of the family and the visa falls under my name as a sponsorship visa. She's not able to work. So I think a lot of people that come here, they fall into the job of becoming an English teacher or something like that. Because I think it's quite easy to get visas or get a visa changed or approved under those sort of
Yeah, that kind of
guidelines.
works very easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
but
mm.
it's definitely a challenge. Especially she falls under the name of a housewife on a visa,
Yeah.
and I don't like saying that either
Mm,
because she's involved in this as much as I am. Obviously I'm the face of it, but I wouldn't have the success or
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am without her. So yeah, that is a challenge moving here, and I think the rugby players, they're a team, they have a great support network around them. Obviously, depending on where you are, I'm sure that can be a lot easier. If you're in a city, there's a lot more foreigners and things like that to communicate with. But they're a team sport, so there's a lot of families, I guess, around each other. For us, it's been very being in Fukuroi where we are, it's sort of like a little farm area, a lot of rice fields and stuff. So it's rural Japan. So that's had its challenges on my wife as well, trying to communicate with other people that are like. So it's important that we're always in communication, but we try to make sure that I do things away from my job. That I don't tend to normally ride on a weekend that I'm not racing. So those times we usually use as a family time. We usually try to really get out and explore Japan. But it's about trying to make a community here. And I've been very fortunate within Yamaha. And as a race team has a close bond. I've been with my mechanic for 3 years now. And he has a very nice family, which I would call his kids. They're like my kids. So we try to create that family atmosphere and we try to during summer break go to camping and things like that with a community to give us more of a purpose other than just for my job here. So we try to live an active lifestyle we're using this time to explore Japan as well.
Mm. So good.
Hopefully
When
in the
can we?
future we can
Yeah. So
like that
lovely.
we've continued to explore it and I think that's the best advice that I could probably give anybody that is making the transition to Japan is that your family is number one. Your wife or husband is your number one supporter and you have to take care of them as well. And look after their needs.
Thank you for shining a light on what it is really like to bring your family to Japan who,
And
yeah, may not have access to the same excitement and
Mm-hmm.
and what is it, professional development that you're getting access to by being there, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, definitely it's not, I want to make it clear is like, yes, that maybe sound like that is the hard side of it, but there is many, many, many positives to this. And I think that's just like, that's my caring side that I really feel that
Yeah.
for those people, because I can see that that can be a challenge. But sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and take risks, make a change, and you don't know what could happen and what comes from
There you go. You heard it here.
it.
I'm so interested to know where we can come and see you, right?
Yes.
And how we can get more people interested in the sport because Yamaha's doing so much for promoting the sport here. So what would you say? And also, I think we have to know where we can get your coffee because there's a coffee that is named after you or something we heard. Yeah, so tell
Yeah.
us all of that.
Yeah, I love coffee. Australia and New Zealand has the best coffee in the world. People can try argue that, but I'm telling you right now, it's
I'm
the
with
best
you
coffee
in
in the
that
world.
one.
So that was the hardest thing probably coming to Japan was that I missed the coffee. So yeah, Jim, who I work with at Yamaha, was able to help me out with getting some good coffee locally, and I'm very thankful for that. But All Japan Motocross Championship is something that I'm passionate about and trying to develop right now. And a part of my job is developing motorcycles and the future of the company as well, Yamaha, and future products. And what better platform it is than using the All Japan Motocross Championship. I'm putting machinery through racing simulation. And I'm local to Japan, so it works out well. The All Japan Motocross Championship has throughout the years, it's always been the development ground, I guess, where you see a lot of new innovation and development first, and a lot of the world has always looked at Japan for this stuff to see what's going on, what's coming next, and during COVID, I think that slowed down a lot just the regulations, maybe based around COVID, they were quite strict, and I think it slowed down the production side of things a bit. But
Mm.
I think that is coming back now in Japan, and I want to make sure we're at the front of that as a company and continue developing. But we travel all over Japan. I'm always active on social media, YouTube. I'm trying to show as much as possible to the world, but also to the Japanese that what my family's about and our I get real, as you guys are
Yeah, I've
aware
seen.
here now on the podcast. I'm trying to be as open as possible and be real with everyone, and I do that on my social media and YouTube, and you can follow on the Wilsons. That's our YouTube channel, YouTube series that we've got going on. Jay Wilson YouTube channel and my social media. I'm more active on Instagram at the moment, Jay Wilson _6, Facebook and X. I post a little bit on there.
Mm.
Links
But
in the bio. Yep.
yeah,
Not links in the
so
bio. Uh,
Awesome.
show
yeah,
So we
notes. Yep.
can find you. We can just follow you and find where you play. Where you? Why do I say play?
yeah,
Where you're playing with it, but you're having a lot of fun, right? Where you're riding next, right? We can
yeah,
follow
yep.
where you
So we're
are.
always showing where we're heading to next, and we've got some races coming up to finish our season out. We've got three more races left to go, and
Woo.
hopefully I can wrap up my third All Japan Motocross Championship
Ooh.
here
Woo.
soon, and yeah, that would be a nice one
It
for me and my
would
family.
be.
So
Hey,
yeah,
when's the
really.
next World Champs?
For the World Championship, they're running. I think they've got another two rounds left of the World Motocross Championship in Europe.
Mm.
And yeah, we've had a bit of a challenging year, but we're learning a lot with the motorcycle in the World Championship. The AMA Supercross, we're having success in there. I'm involved in the American development as well. And
Amazing.
we've just won the 250 Motocross Championship in America as well. So
Woo.
Yamaha globally is having a lot of success, but I think we're having a lot of success in the development of our next generation of riders coming through. Not
That's
only,
cool.
we've just had a world champion just crowned from New Zealand, actually, Levi Townley. So he just won the same world championship I won when I was 14. He's the same age.
Oh my
Whoa. That's
So
super
straight out of
cool.
Mount Maunganui area.
Awesome. And that's where
So
the training camp, isn't that where you do your training as well when you go back?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of
Yeah.
time in Motueka, top of the South Island, Nelson
Mm,
area, and
mm.
then also Bay of Plenty, Mount Maunganui area. It's always a lovely place to be, and hopefully one day we can call somewhere in New Zealand home. So
Yeah, we know you're
Oh.
craving for going to live in New Zealand. And I think next year, is it 2025, you're also doing some pre-training, maybe doing a pre-training camp also there in New Zealand, yeah?
I think that's something that is very special to New Zealand, is that it's very similar to in many ways to Japan. The landscape is very similar, and rural Japan is very similar to New Zealand. It's got the nice mountains, the forestry, and it's na nature is very beautiful here in Japan. I don't think a lot of people really get out and
Mm,
explore that as much. They see Tokyo, they see the big
Mm,
cities, but rural Japan and like
mm,
nature in Japan is actually really special. And it's very beautiful. And I think that's what why I'm attracted to Japan, because it reminds me of New Zealand so much, which is where I feel like I feel relaxed and comfortable.
We love
So
that.
yeah, it's very similar in many ways, and I think New Zealand is a very action sport country. A lot of mountain biking, skiing,
Mm.
snowboard,
Mm.
anything outdoors. Kiwis love it, and I think that's what resonates with me. And I think Japan also, it has the space to be like that as well. And I think over time it's going to develop. Yamaha obviously is very invested in the YPJ, the Yamaha mountain bike, and I'm now starting to push that here in Japan as well. Obviously, New Zealand has a big base for mountain biking.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, and
Mm.
like I said, the mountainside here in Japan has a lot of potential, and I hope that we continue to grow that. And not only wintertime, but the summertime, we can use the mountains for mountain biking and continue to evolve the Yamaha product and show the world what we have to offer.
Mm.
Very good.
So we usually ask our guests about their one gem that they've got, but this whole podcast with you and your conversations about patience and everything, support, your core team, family has been a gem in itself. And I think your crystal ball moment that we normally ask guests was just exactly what you've said for the adventures that are ahead. Is there anything else you would love to tell us? Any other projects or initiatives or anything else you'd just like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I've got any advice for people that want to get involved in Japanese business is be patient, respect the culture, understand that there is a purpose for everything that they're doing. They have a process that they go through, and respect that. Learn it and try use it in other ways. I think the West has a very fast way of doing business. The Japanese tend to have a slower process, but try respect that. Try to learn why they're doing it, and I think if you can understand it and be respectful and be patient, I think you can have a successful career working with the Japanese, and it can be a very strong relationship because I do believe they are loyal. I do believe that when they believe in something, they really do stick behind it, and I think that mentality that Australian and Kiwis have is that we never give up. And I think they do appreciate that a lot here. And I think you will have a lot of success doing that moving forward. I think Japan, I really do hope it continues to grow here, and foreigners do continue to do business here. And I think there's a big platform here and a lot of positives to gain moving forward from Japan. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for these companies here in Japan and for people, expats that want to come to Japan and work globally.
Wow, excellent. Look at that wrap up. Thank you so
That was
much.
fantastic.
Congratulations, then, Jay, on being a Jandal in Japan.
Thank you guys, and thank you for finally giving me that crown, and I appreciate it.
Add
And
that to
thanks
your list of
also,
crowns there.
yeah, to your Yamaha team and to Jim for inviting me to ask you to come on the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out and has any questions, I'm still learning the corporate world. And I want to make that clear as I don't have all the answers, but this is my side of it. This is my look in on working here in Japan, and I've loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world. My daughter's fitted in well here in schooling. They have a lot of options for English. And I think at a young age for my daughter, this is a great
Mm,
experience. So,
fantastic. Go Poppy. So yeah, I think your subscribers are going to go up and up on YouTube now after this. Thanks again so much for being on the show.
thanks, guys, and yeah, take care and have a nice day.
What a lovely, sweet guy Jay is. I enjoyed hearing his experiences with his family here and racing for Yamaha.
Indeed. What a guy. I mean, he's gone through a lot. The family's gone through a lot and they love Japan. I mean, one of his great comments there was about learning to suffer, right? And how you can how it actually helps you to never give up. And I thought that was a really good spirit to show, right? And maybe suffer is a really heavy word, but as human beings, we do suffer from time to time, especially if we're in a different culture, a different climate. So I got that point really well, and I loved how he brought that out, but he said it gives you that spirit for Kiwis and Aussies never to give up.
Yeah, and I think here in Japan, the harder it is for you, the more rewarding it is for you. Have you had those experiences, Catherine, where when you've done something that's really, really hard, like you've gone into a really unfamiliar Japanese environment and then you figured it out eventually, it was hard, but you got there, the other end, and then you're like, wow, look at me, I can do this now. That's probably some of the most rewarding things that I've done in Japan have been also the trickiest.
I think so. Indeed. In the thick of it, when you're in the middle of that situation, it's not pleasant. It feels like you're trying to put onions in your eyes and you're crying. Like, I don't know what it feels like, but it feels awful at the time, but it's only after.
Yeah.
Like most of this human nature, we find out later on that was actually worth it. And we never develop really, do we? And especially in Japan, you just, I don't know, I feel like it's all the things that he brought out, you know, that you come to your best self by going through so much. And he also brought out quite a number of times that he's always been a second and a third, right? And he's portrayed himself that way. And I really felt for him in that situation. There's some things in my life have been like that too. And I thought, well, you know, you end up somehow being very triumphant in a different way and in a different phase of your life. And he's certainly number one now with what he's done. Since we recorded, we know that they won that third championship. So he's had 3 back-to-back wins. So we're super excited about that. Well done again, Jay and the team. Omedetou gozaimasu. Yeah,
well done, Jay.
Those were great things, being real, being open. It's obviously served him very well. And I think for most of the time, for all of us, living in Japan, working in Japan, at the grace of this Japanese government, grace of the people who look after us and pay the bills for us.
Who hire us.
You know, we are lucky, and I think getting real and being open is actually a really, really good place to be to have success in Japan.
Was that the first time we've actually heard someone say, I'm actually really only here to help Japan rather than help myself?
Yeah, he said, I have a real passion for Japanese companies, right? He didn't. Yeah, he
so that was the first time I sort of heard that.
With them. Yeah.
But that's really kind of what it comes down to, actually. So,
right?
Yep. Bit of humility there. It goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot, actually. And so I think he talked about lots of crowns he was wearing, but that's one really big crown is his humility, his passion for Japanese companies, and how I think because of that, he sees it as very easy to work with them. Fantastic, Jay. Really loved your conversation. And we just wish you more and more success.
Yes.
Keep riding that bike. Keep going.
And we wish you lots of happiness in your time here with your family in Japan. And what a great Jandal you are. That's all for this episode. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our guests' links in the show notes.
This podcast is brought to you today by Catherine O'Connell Law and Pod Launch with Jane. If you have a great story you think should be on the show, come and find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Mata ne!